Hey guys, Stealth here. It's a Thursday, so you might be expecting from the depths, but I haven't been playing that at all lately, and just consistently getting myself blown up time and time again is not too interesting. So today it's World of Warships again. And today I'm looking at the Leander, which is the British Tier 6 light cruiser. Now the first cruisers from the British line are just downright terrible. I just did not have a fun time with them. Especially the Emerald at Tier 5, you can see one here on the enemy team. It's a really tough ship to use. I'm usually happy if I can get the same amount of damage as I have hit points, and especially in that ship that is quite a feat. So when I moved on to the Leander that you can see here, it's quite the change in the sense that you now have 4 turrets and they all have 2 guns in them. So you can fire 8 projectiles on target pretty quickly. I don't have the concealment expert yet, so I don't have any superior detection or camouflage ability. But with a detection of 10, it's decent. You can get into caps if you need to. What I have found with these British cruisers is that you gotta make sure that you do not take the lead. Your smoke can help you, but it will not always save you. This match is the first match that I played with this ship. The only thing I have upgraded is the torpedo armament, so I have torpedoes which have an 8 km range instead of the usual 6, and I believe that you do also save a bit on the reload. It becomes quite a bit faster. Other than that, the ship is entirely stock. Stock hull, stock firing computer, so I only have a range of 12 kilometers, which means you gotta get pretty close. But that's something that these light cruisers have anyway. They're not long-range duelists, at least not yet. I believe that the tier 8 through tier 10 actually get pretty good range, and you can actually get pretty close to the enemy. For now, steaming up as fast as possible with the other ships here. We have a Fiji and a Mahan, backed up with Gneisenau, Congo and a Königsberg, so we should have plenty of firepower on this end. Especially with the enemy team mostly heading towards the other side of the map, so I'm not too worried about this area. With the ship being stock, I only put on some camouflage. I completely forgot about mounting the premium consumables, and I do have some modules installed. The modules that I use are specifically for the longer range AA, so my AA guns have a range of 6.6, and that definitely helps. You definitely are able to shoot down aircraft at increased range. And with a long-range AA gun damage of 81, you can project a lot of firepower, despite not having defensive AA. Now I'm slowing down as much as possible before opening up, so that I can make sure I have enough, or actually low enough speed, to slow down and use my smoke. Smoke for the British cruisers is really good. You can keep concealed inside your smoke screen for long periods of time. Unfortunately, I only carry 2 of them on this ship, because my superintendent skill hadn't kicked in yet. It was still being retrained. And the premium consumable does give you 1 more use, but again, I didn't have that, so I only have 1 more smoke left. When you have one of these new ships, it's usually a bit like a first date. You want to see exactly if this thing has potential. That's usually how I look at these ships. Do they have the potential to get good? In the sense that you can get a lot of damage done. Are they fun to play, or are they just a continuation of the previous line? And quite soon into this match, right about now, I was quite surprised at getting the high damage numbers on, for example, this Bayern here. With these medium to longer range targets, you can get quite a bit of fire to go into plunging fire mode, so that it plunges down into the decks, and that's where you can get those pretty high damage rolls. A salvo of 4,500 by plunging fire is not at all unexpected. You can actually quite do these pretty consistently. For the rest, I always try to hit the superstructure, not the flat broadside of the ship, but the superstructure, because those usually have less armor. Another pretty good salvo on the ship there, and the Emerald here is about to run into a lot of trouble, as he's pretty much alone sailing into the majority of our fleet. He's quickly turning around, so switching fire to the Minakaze up front, because the Minakaze with the torpedoes can make life on our battleships really difficult. Talking about battleships, this Gneisenau is doing what I like battleships to do. He's actually pushing. Unlike the Congo over here. Now the Congo, you could say, is a bit more of a sniper. It doesn't really have that full push capability. But still, it is a ship that can definitely deliver a lot of firepower and tank a bit as well. Now, in the meanwhile, we're not doing too well on ships and points. We already lost the sea cap, and I was completely oblivious to the fact that the area here behind me was being capped. So instead I push forward, trying to get more damage done on the Emerald. And this is just absolutely terrible situational awareness on my part. I don't even look behind me, I don't even see the notifications on screen. I'm just quite busy with getting the ship to fire at the right targets and trying to keep the ship aimed at the right ships. Not my proudest moment here, just ignoring the sea cap, because the Emerald is really good against destroyers, even though it doesn't have any HE ammunition. It continues the British tradition of only having armor penetration. Those armor penetration rounds definitely hurt if you're a broadside Emerald, as this guy is unfortunately finding out quite quickly. Now, this is nothing specific that the Leander does very well. It's just that the Emerald is so damn weak. It's just a floating citadel. With the Emerald out of the way, we're back to 2 on 2, or at least they lost 2 and we lost 2. So continuing to push on. I actually get into the cap to try and get a little bit of capping XP. And meanwhile continuing to fire at this Gneisenau, which at this stage is coming back. It's coming back to push back into the A cap. There's the Minakaze again. So switching fire from the Gneisenau to the Minakaze as soon as I actually realize that he's close. Because at 5.8 kilometers he is definitely a problem. Here we go. Turrets are pretty fast on the Leander and pretty much on most of the British cruisers that I've played so far. The thing is, they don't turn like American turrets. I mean, there are no Atlanta turrets which turn in, well, I believe under 10 seconds for a 180 degree turn. These turrets do take their time. Gneisenau coming in for a very aggressive push. I pop a few torpedoes, but the Mayhan already got the majority of the damage in. He just needed a little bit more of a nudge, and there we go. The Gneisenau is down, thanks to the other Gneisenau. Belfast coming in from the B cap, as this Mayhan is completely in the shit here. He has a smoke screen, but he is probably out of ammunition for his torpedoes. He's on reload. He's trying desperately to steer away from the Belfast, which does come with radar. And unfortunately the Bayern, with a bit of a blind fire, does get the kill on him. So time to put more fire into the Bayern. Another 2k salvo there. Continuing to hit this ship just before he pops away. I was hoping to disable a turret, but I just couldn't quite get there. Unfortunately, this Bayern might have been expecting my torpedoes. He was starting to turn away, and with me being the furthest ship in the front, there was no one else who could really do a lot of spotting for me. But there was a problem. That Belfast, I think I just wandered into its radar range. So he's continuing to put HE fire into me, and doing lots of damage with it. So time to put the ship in reverse, to try and get away from here as fast as possible, as this Bayern is very happily making use of all the detection that the Belfast is providing. Fortunately, with that maneuver, he's putting himself pretty much in harm's way of my torpedoes. There's a 12,000 or near enough 12,000 damage run on the Bayern with just one torpedo. Continuing to put fire into him. I know that there are no further ships here, just the Belfast and the Bayern, so I'm maneuvering outside of the smokescreen, or just have my bow inside. And there's the kill. Bayern out of action. Now, if this was the end, I would be perfectly happy, because I've already done 44,000 damage, which at tier 6 is above average. I have done almost twice the amount of damage as far as my own hit points go. And I can now continue to support the Gneisenau to keep that number going up. Unfortunately, the Gneisenau is moving a bit faster and positioning himself directly between the Belfast and me, so I cannot actually fire at him without hitting my friendly here. Fired right over his stern. Belfast is pretty quick though, so I gotta make sure that my shots do a little bit more lead, and there we go, there's the hits. 512, someone else got the kill. That's the Fiji you see pushing up over there. Right now we are capping B. We already have the A, the A and the C cap. The D cap is still under enemy control. And the team so far is looking pretty good. We have 2 more kills than they do. And with that, we should be able to keep on to this match and keep on to this lead. In chat, I'm discussing the Fiji with this guy, or I'm discussing how the Fiji is going to perform. Because I'm really curious after the Leander what comes next. Is that going to be another turret of a ship, or is that going to be a really good ship? The Fiji is pretty much, from what I've seen, a straight upgrade over the Leander. It gets a bit more concealment, I believe. It gets way more guns. Because with 4 turrets, all sporting 3 guns, you can do a lot more damage. You can have a much higher damage output. Torpedo range, I believe, is still 8. I don't have the Fiji yet, but I'm rapidly grinding my way there, so that might very well be the next video. In the meanwhile, the enemy team has still got the lead on this one. It's 530 versus 614. I'm continuing to try and get the ship closer. And I know that there is a Congo down south. I was considering going for this guy at C, but it's a full health Congo. And a full health Congo does not need a lot of rounds or a lot of salvos to actually kill me. So I was quite worried there. And instead we decided to push towards D to make sure that we have more ships, more firepower, and that the Fiji and myself can mutually support each other with smoke. Another bit of plunging fire right into the citadel. Not exactly penetrating the citadel, but definitely doing nice numbers there. 3,000. The second one's pretty bad. 518. Continuing to fire. And I found this to be a bit of a pattern with the Leander. Unless you go broadside, it's really difficult to get all of your turrets on target. The moment you go broadside, you're opening yourself up to a massive attack. So with that, you gotta be consistently careful. Am I going to go broadside and hoping that no one's going to shoot back at me, or am I going to continue to push forward and just have 2 guns? At the same time, you do get the option of running away and still having 2 turrets on target, and there's not a lot of ships that have this even configuration. Cleveland's getting quite close. Unfortunately for him, he does not have detection, he does not have radar. And the Fiji and myself are merrily pouring fire into his side, trying to get citadels on him as fast as possible to just delete this cruiser. And while the Cleveland is a bit more difficult to citadel than most of the other cruisers, you don't really need to citadel him if you're in these British ships, because they just do so much damage over time. You can very quickly pump out the damage, because with a reload of 7.5 seconds you can just keep pouring fire, and even if you miss a few rounds or if not everything does damage, it's perfectly okay. I'm trying to coordinate when the Fiji is out of smoke, so when his smoke is done, so we can re-smoke using my last smoke charge. With the 2 of us on decent health, he's pretty low, I'm doing quite well, and I don't have a repair anymore, unfortunately. We gotta make use of my smoke. There you can see the Fiji is now out of smoke. He's asking me if I can smoke, and smoke is back up. And immediately we just disappear again. Whereas we can continue to pour fire into the enemy ships. Unfortunately only using the bow turrets. And as such only I have 4 guns I believe on the bow. So I can only keep firing on this guy with 4 turrets. But a broadside Koenig going for the superstructure is still pretty vulnerable. He is repairing though. And it turned out he could almost repair faster than we could do the damage. But the repair didn't quite last long. There's 508 hit points left. Fiji fires again, I fire again, and I believe that Fiji gets the kill. My rounds all bounce, and this is when he actually starts the repair. 2400 hit points, 2800. He puts a bit of a random shot into the water, very far forward. Fortunately it doesn't really hit anything. And as such, he could have done a lot of damage to me, because in a Leander it's pretty easy to get penetrated from the front. Just Citadels are more difficult, but overall damage is very much possible. Took a bit of a stray hit there, no damage, and in the meanwhile we have also capped D. The enemy is coming back around A, so it's a bit of chase around the island, and he's continuing to get more caps. The scores have evened up, it's 4v4. It's just the Congo, the Fiji, the Königsberg and myself left against a König, a Congo, a Cleveland and a Hatsuharu. The Hatsuharu could prove to be a real problem. In fact, he's already here. We don't know exactly... Oh, sorry, we're already firing at him. I was thinking we're still firing at the Cleveland. The Hatsuharu disappeared into the smoke screen. And with my acoustic or hydroacoustic search, I was able to at least get a little bit of headway on those torpedoes. Otherwise, it would have been a real nasty situation. I would have probably been killed off. I tried to do a bit of retreating into the smoke. This is so important for British cruisers. You have to absolutely get inside the smoke. If you're not, then you are such a priority target for the enemy team because you're basically one big floating citadel that the enemy team will always prioritize you. So I try to go back to B because these guys are out of range and not really a problem anyway. Trying to head back to B, moving towards the position where the Congo was last seen, because the Congo came in from A. You can see him on the minimap there. That's when he was last spotted. And he is now somewhere at the B area. I expected him to be right about on the edge of it, coming in just from A. But it turns out the Congo is a bit of a faster ship. A lot faster than expected. Hydroacoustic is unfortunately running out, so I can no longer detect ships using that, and with that all of my specialty items are gone. My repair is out, my hydroacoustic is out, and my smoke is out. The enemy team is doing very well in points, so I say we need a kill. Unfortunately, that is not quite what happened, because here's the Congo. And the Congo has just to get one look at me, and that's basically all he needs. He just took 16,000 hit points off of me. Secondaries are continuing to open up on me, so more damage pours in. I try to get a torpedo salvo off, but not fast enough. Only 2 torpedoes were launched, and with that, the enemy team just completely won the match. And here's the damage result screen. 82,000 damage done in a mostly stock ship, thanks to only a few torpedoes, and most of the damage done just by the guns. So while you may be thinking that the armor penetration on the British cruisers is not that good, it still can get you a lot of damage, so long as you make use of the islands, make use of the smoke, make use of any concealment you can find, whether it's your own smoke or smoke put up by an enemy or even a friendly ship. Team score puts me on 2nd place after the Fiji, so the Fiji did a really good job there as well. Especially if you are with multiple British ships or multiple ships who are capable of smoking or relying on smoke to stay alive, try to coordinate with them. Just type to them in chat if you're going to smoke, when you have smoke available, if your smoke might be deployed soon, because that way you can get both of your chances of survival up quite a bit. Detailed reports gives me the 82,000 broken down into different categories. Half of it, or actually more than half of it, came from the main battery. Of course, no explosive damage or no fire damage, although you can, I think, put ships on fire with the secondary battery. It's happened a few times that I've hit stuff with the secondary batteries. I'm just not sure if those high explosive shells have any chance of fire. And I caused a little bit of flooding damage to maybe the Bayern, I'm not sure, or the Congo, who got hit and then immediately fixed it. As far as credits in XP, it is 2300, but keep in mind that I'm using the Equal Speed Charlie London flag, which gives me 50% bonus XP. I usually put these things on newer ships to make sure I can get them unstocked or just completely upgraded as soon as possible. And the same goes for the commander. The Dragon flag absolutely helps if you want to retrain your commander using only the 200,000k option. It makes your grinding or your retraining a lot faster. Anyway, that's it for this video. If you are grinding the British cruisers and you're still below tier 6, keep going. Because at tier 6 or above tier 6, it gets a lot better. These ships all of a sudden have a lot more potential. They become easier to handle. They are not that much more survivable. And you still need a lot of concealment and a lot of protection to keep yourself alive. But they have significantly more damage output. So if you are still grinding the Danae or the Emerald, keep going. There is light at the end of the tunnel. And with that, it's the end of the video. Thank you for watching. I hope you had fun. Keep grinding those British cruisers because they are worth it, continuing as you go up the line. Let me know where you're at with the cruisers. What line are you grinding? What ships are you working towards? And what ships you would like to see. Because with that, I can of course make another video out of that. So thank you for watching. See you soon for more World of Warships.